Leslie and I have known each other since early childhood. We grew up on the same country road in Mississippi.
I think why we're good for the community of Mississippi is because we're a product of this community. We are just two country guys, and we were embedded with what I call the diamonds of good character.
Come, join the family, and help us build the community.
Charles Irvin.
Leslie Peters, happy Friday, sir. What's going on?
Man, what's not going on? This has been an interesting week in terms of news as we are closer. Well, some folks are back to school, and for those of us that are waiting, we're ever closer. And some of us are still waiting on decisions. It's a lot to talk about, and a lot has happened since we talked to our audience and our family last Friday. So I know you can't wait to jump into it. So I'm going to let you do it.
Well, we've been saying the whole time, school in person is not a good idea. And so we talked about, you remember we talked about the young lady who was suspended for taking the picture in the hallway at that school?
I do remember that.
And they reinstated her right before the show, which we were not aware of. Well, here's a quick update on that. That high school is now closed. They had a COVID outbreak, of all things.
Oh, you mean this high school?
Oh, man, I'm not sure the name of the high school, but I know the young lady was suspended. But get this, they have outbreaks at high schools all over Georgia. Mm-hmm. And Mississippi is having some cases, and those people who were last to close and first to open and rushing in, here is what's happening. The perils of not listening to science. When you put employees at risk, you put the students and staff at risk and their families. And so now you have at that particular school that I'm referring to, they have 14 confirmed cases right away, 22 pending test results, 300 people in quarantine. So you just upended that community.
Yeah, I mean, I think the headline says it all, right? 260 employees in Georgia's largest school district test positive for COVID. Yeah. Listen, school has just started, folks. We can't even get out the block. We can't even get out of week 1, week 2. I mean, it's not like we're in the second 9 weeks. No. We are in the initial weeks of school, and this is already happening, and it's only going to get worse. So again, for all of you who might have been under the thought process that it's not real, it doesn't exist, it doesn't really come close to touching me or my kids. Hey, I'm just giving facts at this point. There's nothing emotional about this. The facts are 260 employees of Georgia's largest school district tested positive for COVID in week 1 and week 2 of school. Those are the facts. That can't be disputed. You can call it what you want. That right there is not emotional. That's the bottom line, black, white, factual evidence. And it's only going to continue as other school districts keep coming online each and every week. And I think we have to stop running from the issue and deal with it. And what my question is, I would like for real leaders to stand up and lead. Just saying.
Well, the problem with that is, though, Leslie, what we've always said, they're trying to please and appease and be seen as, being tough. And I don't get it, man. My problem is the health and safety of my children and the community's children is paramount,
It is. I mean, I said it all the time, and I said it before that children and safety are not political issues. It's
No.
not really up for debate. The safety of all individuals, the safety of all children is not a political issue. That's a humanity issue. And so that's the way it should be treated. That's the way it should be looked upon. And hopefully we can get back to that. I would love to hear what our family's thoughts are on this. So definitely drop your comments in. Let us see them. Let us hear you. I want to hear what you're thinking, because now, before it was hypothetical, we talked about what could happen, what the possibilities were, and now we're dealing with the reality. What is happening, what has happened. And so now it's not hypothetical anymore. We're actually dealing with facts. And I love to hear your thoughts now that we are actually knee deep in this thing.
Well, Leslie, we may be knee deep, but did you hear what the CDC had to say? The top dog said September, old September. If 2020,
and I don't think he was talking about the Earth, Wind, and Fire's version of their view of September either. I think he was painting a different picture.
I mean, his picture was way bleaker than Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was more like hellfire and brimstone, because he's talking about influenza mixing with COVID, because now, we haven't flattened the curve, and, you had 67,000 people, I believe, that died from influenza last year.
Yeah.
And you have 165,000 people who are better who have passed due to COVID. So we're talking about a perfect medical catastrophe.
Yeah.
Generational level. And you still have people talking about playing football. This man on one hand is talking about 1819 Black flu references and that type thing, like something that could change the way the face of the earth looks. I mean, I don't get it, Leslie. I think it's almost at the point where the people who are still walking around talking about Corona is a hoax are almost going to have someone very close to them get sick and succumb to it, which is not what we want. We don't want that. We've been advocating that you wear your mask, distance, wash your hands, cut out the socializing if you have to. So do it virtually. It's plenty of ways that you can do things. It's not the old way, but as long as we've been in this pandemic, this is where we are. We've got to adjust.
Speaking of that, as we talk about football and sports, and I went to the Legend and had a little conversation. And when I say that, for those of you who know me, I'm talking about my pops, who spent many years, almost 40 years, on the sideline of Mississippi high school football and has won a lot.
Yeah.
And he often reminds me that he beat me 2 out of the 3 times that I faced him, because, of course, he always reminds me of that. But what about the ACC and SEC? The ESPN had an article that came out this week that basically said that ACC and SEC, which are, the 2 preliminary, premier conferences right now, that they have, those 2 conferences have housed what, the last 5 or 6 national champions. So it's been Alabama, Clemson, Auburn, and that one year. Listen, so the ACC and SEC have announced that football plans remain unchanged even after the Big 12's decision to pull football.
Let me just tell you something, Liz. Money over safety, I'm not good with that. Now, I understand you trying to say they perennial powerhouses and all of that, but look, after yesterday, what's the point? The NCAA came out yesterday and said there will be no fall championships, which includes football. So you can't tell me you're playing for pride.
Well, they just said that their plans remain unchanged. Football will continue to go on as normal in the fall. Now, so at this point, I'm not even speaking to the ADs, the commissioners, the coaches. This is really so. Players often talk about, don't be fooled, players. Don't be fooled in thinking you don't have leverage. You don't have leverage if you're divided. You have a whole lot of leverage if you come together. Here's the reality. What they're really saying in my translation is, I'm not going to stop making money. And so if you don't play, they don't get paid. You don't play, they don't pay. It's real simple there, because if there's nobody to come see, then they don't make the money.
Here's the problem with that. And I like the way you're thinking about it. I really do. But here's the problem.
I know where you're going.
And you're gonna say, yeah, I knew that. But they've made them think that this is a value proposition about their warrior ethos. You know what I'm saying? Your work ethic. They made the dollar proposition the back end your NFL career.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes a dynamic that's untenable in this type of situation, because we know why the schools are trying to do it. They want that cold, hard cash.
Yeah, it's real simple. I mean, it's very clear the motivation and the source of motivation for the school districts, for the ADs. I get it.
Yeah.
But even in the midst of all that, and I go back to our good friend, rest in peace, John Lewis, sometimes, and like the young lady said that we showed on the show last week, sometimes you got to stand in the way. Yeah. Sometimes you got to stand in the way, and sometimes you got to be willing to get in some good trouble, because here's the reality. If one life, to me, one life is bigger than your bank account. And so, because remember, it's not going in the player's bank account.
Yeah.
So one life. So what you're really saying, we will risk it all. And then when I listen to the president's comments that says they're big, they're strong, they'll get through it. What? Last time I checked, the coronavirus didn't care if you were big, strong, little, weak, short, tall, white, black, yellow. It didn't care.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but they've steered it away from economic justice to what have you done for me lately? And these guys are playing for contracts, and so that's a hard one. The birthday man.
Man is in the house.
One day ago, and that old codger turned. I'm not going to tell his age on the air, but hey, Antonio.
Town Poet in the house.
Poet in the house. Appreciate that, brother. Hey, look. Pandemic times, Curtis. My barber has changed the way he does things. He coming to the office, so now I can get my hair cut. I don't have to walk around looking like Douglas.
Speaking of that, Charles and I have had this thing where generally we try to get our haircuts the same week so we can both, but he didn't tell me this time. So, that's why I'm looking all dusty and he has a fresh cut, but that's okay.
Well, here's the thing. In my defense,
mm-hmm.
Baby Jack starts school next week. And even though it's virtual, he wanted a fresh cut for his first day of school. Speaking of which, he's got to wear uniforms, doesn't he?
Wait a minute. He's going virtually, but he doesn't wear a uniform?
Yeah, he's going to be all right. He has a small problem with that, but Jackson is very opinionated. Anybody who knows Jackson knows he has an opinion about everything.
That is true. That is true. But our good friend, the birthday boy, has a word for you.
I told him he's been talking like Esther from Sanford and Son for the last couple of days. He keeps saying, watch
it. Mom, hey, Mom, nice to have you here. Cherokee County, Georgia School District have 1,300 in quarantine now.
Yeah, this is what's going to happen when you put those people in those closed buildings, regardless of age. And again, people, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. The science is telling us, yeah, and the science is telling us don't put people in closed buildings because it's an airborne virus.
I think the more and more we look at this, and the more and the numbers have keep crawling. I think in the U.S. we topped over 5 million people infected with the virus. That's more than any other country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be clear because I think I'm really a little bit concerned that I meet people, I have conversations with people, and they still think they don't realize the reality of the numbers, and they think, oh, well, China had much worse situation than we did, and in Italy theirs was much. No, that's not true. That's not true. The facts are, U.S. cases, and the number is still climbing, by the way, has topped 5 million. No other country had anywhere near that number of people. And let me just explain it to you. China has a lot more people in China than we have in the U.S. We only have roughly, if you count everybody, about 300 million folks in the U.S. China has a lot more than that. And they had 5 million people infected with the coronavirus. Neither has Italy. But that is the numbers in the U.S. and those are the facts.
That is a direct reflection of leadership and how you handle preparedness. And I was gonna say this, Leslie, but I've been itching, I've been scratching, I try to avoid this stuff. Leadership, man. Leadership matters. Leadership matters. We had an Ebola outbreak. How many people died during that Ebola outbreak in America?
Well, yeah, two. And let me be clear, that was right here where I am.
Yeah.
We were the epicenter of that. That was right here in Dallas. And let me just be clear. We had an Ebola outbreak. The initial patient that brought it over, one of their family members, the 2 deceased early on, and then everybody else they were able to cure. Now, you can say, all I'm saying is this: Africa been fighting Ebola how long?
Man, a long time. But look, that leadership team of who? Barack Obama and Joe Biden, they listen to the scientists. Now, you call that a political statement all you want to. I'm just telling you. When you look at the numbers in during the Ebola outbreak compared to the numbers during this COVID outbreak, no comparison. And I got some stuff I want to say, but go ahead.
Well, here's this. So I want to switch gears a little bit. So here, and I need your help on this one. So as we look at a longer period for most of our youth, and even if they are going back to school, chances are they're going to spend a lot of time quarantined at home still. So this is not going to be a traditional school year in the sense that we've always known. So they're going to be back at home. So I'm just giving you that words up right away. My question to the family is this: how do we find ways for our youth to socialize? Because that's still important. And I think somebody made a comment, but yeah, it was a little short guy we know. He made a comment, he's gonna get me for that. He says, with the virtual classes, we still have to consider socializing our youth. We need to be creative when providing safe social gatherings. I think that's important. I'd love to hear your ideas of how some of you are doing that. How are you envisioning doing that during the school year? How do we do that in a safe way? But even I have, just kind of seen some of the effects, right, of youth not being able to socialize with their friends for extended periods of time, and that's not a healthy situation. So I'm curious to know, some of you that have been having success in that area, what are some of the things you're doing? What are your thoughts? Family, talk to me.
Yeah, give Leslie some ideas, because I want to, we want to be responsible in what we do. We want to be responsible because, you have leadership. I'm stuck on the leadership piece. I know you want to get to the socializing piece, but I got some choice words for the family today.
Go.
That I want them to run and tell. You hear me?
I hear you. Give it to me.
Now, COVID-19. You have people dying at a rate of 1 every 80 seconds. That's too much. And that is a reflection of leadership. Now, here's what's really chapping my hide. I know 20, 23, 24 people text me this week after Joe Biden picked his vice president.
Oh, yeah.
So let me just say, I wasn't on the committee. I know politics. But here's what I want to say to the family. Kamala Harris. I'm going to leave my personal opinions aside and just talk facts.
Okay.
Super politician, extremely educated, HBCU, undergrad, educated, Black, Southeast Asian, female. Yes, she is married to a white gentleman, but that's where she found love. And that has nothing to do with how well she does her job. That's the first thing. Love is blind, right, people? I get it. I get it. If that's not your cup of tea, then keep drinking orange. It's killing folks. Right? Now I have this orange highlighter in my hand because I want to highlight this fact once and for all. For everybody that contacted me saying you got a problem with Kamala Harris, I'm not going to cuss on the air, but let's just show my mama on here. But I am going to tell you this. So you mean to tell me you're going to sacrifice good in pursuit of perfection? Who is the perfect candidate that you wanted them to choose? And did you call or contribute enough money so that your voice could be heard? Because last I checked, the current occupant of the White House is not qualified to handle the pandemic we find ourselves in. Now, Joe Biden went about his stuff in a professional manner, and he had over 11 women that he vetted for the vice presidential slot. He chose Kamala Harris. I think it's a very positive pick. Now, this is what's bothering me. I've been practicing law for 21 years. All right? And you know, I started as a public defender, but I've also earned a living as a prosecutor at the federal level. So I get it. I have friends in both communities, on the prosecution side and the defense side. Now, there is this argument that's going around saying that she was too strong for too long and did not care about Black lives when it came to how she treated Georgia. And I want to challenge that because having been a federal prosecutor, yes, you want to always be aware that everyone is being treated properly, regardless of race, gender, creed, anything outside of the statute. However, factually speaking, I'm going to point, Leslie, do you have this article that I had Isabella send you from Nikki Solis, who's a 20-year vet. See, I have a tendency to listen to OGs. Now, we OGs now. We got 20 years in the game. You see what I'm saying? So Nikki Solis has been in the San Francisco Public Defender's office in some capacity for almost 20 years. She's devoted her life to defending those who are indigent or to hire their own representation. Well, she was the head of the San Francisco Public Defender's Office, and she tried cases directly against Kamala Harris when she was the district attorney in that county. So take it from me. When you are in an adversarial process, you're not that cozy. You know each other. But when I saw her words, I instantly perked up because I said, this is the real tea right here. Because they tried cases against each other. She's still in that office. And she went on to say, not only what the headline says that Kamala Harris was the most progressive district attorney in California, she also pointed out that way back then, when it wasn't popular, she was against the death penalty. When she was in the district attorney's office, she made the police and law enforcement livid because she refused to seek the death penalty against someone who murdered a cop. So much so that her colleague, Dianne Feinstein, ripped her from the dais at that officer's funeral. She didn't back down. 16 years later, guess what's happening? Other district attorneys are going against the death penalty. That's something that she left. That's a legacy.
Exactly. And Charles, I think it's important. Why don't we go ahead and read just this last paragraph or so that talks about it, and you hear her final consensus, because when I read it, it even it was just piercing to me as well. So I'll go ahead and read this last paragraph. It says, "There are many who will criticize me for this piece, but I feel compelled to speak out. Although we as public defenders may have disagreed with Harris at times or wanted more from her office, there is no one who can say that there was a more progressive district attorney in California than Kamala Harris. She implemented and expanded programs that are now the staple of many DA offices up and down the state. Just last month in California, Santa Clara County DA Jeff Rosen said he would no longer seek the death penalty. This comes 16 years after Harris took the same stance in San Francisco." You see the headline there. "For those who have heard contrary arguments about Harris's past work as a prosecutor, rest assured that you are hearing this from someone whose life work has been dedicated to the cause of equality and justice. I am the chair of the San Francisco Public Defender's Office Racial Justice Committee, and I have scratched and clawed for some semblance of justice in our courts for well over 2 decades. I grappled with this idea of defending a former prosecutor for a long time, but Harris is more than that. I have to acknowledge that the truth and say what I feel is right to set the record straight. Should Joe Biden decide not to select Kamala Harris as a running mate, her track record as San Francisco District Attorney should certainly not be one of the reasons."
My point is this, and I appreciate you just giving it to him straight. That's coming from a voice who has defended people's rights, who has dealt with marijuana cases. And one of the things that I heard her say that made me go back and read it because I wanted to fill in the gaps was, she stated that when Kamala Harris was over that office, they had marijuana cases coming in. And yeah, some people went to jail, but by and large, if, she bumped them down to the misdemeanor docket. Now, if you were a first-time offender and you did something that was egregious, she probably put your ass in jail. It's just that simple. I fight every day to keep people out of jail to defend their rights. But more so when you're in these positions, you're fighting to uphold the constitutional rights afforded to everyone. Upholding those constitutional rights should not be confused with a free get out of jail free pass just because your homegirl is a district attorney. It don't work like that. So stop it. She is eminently qualified to do the job. What you want from a vice presidential candidate and then a vice president is, are you ready to lead if you're called upon to carry this country forward? Without a doubt, she is. So stop it, people. Because the alternative is this, especially in Mississippi. If you're walking around saying you're going to hold her accountable for something that happened 20 years ago in California, most of y'all ain't never even been to California. So you telling me you're not going to vote, which means that de facto 45 is going to be the president? Again, you willing to sacrifice, because she's on the ticket, you willing to sacrifice your vote. How would John Lewis feel about that? Fannie Lou Hamer said she's sick and tired of being sick and tired. Son, let me tell you, when I hear stuff like that, it really chaps my hide, because if you go and do some research for yourself, just a little bit, and you want to talk about her ability to lead, Leslie, the Department of Justice is the largest law enforcement agency in the country. Who you think personnel wise is the second largest agency? the Attorney General's office for California. Who led that office?
Kamala Harris.
Right. So stop it, people. Yes, she's been on the side of prosecution. That's the life work that she chose. And she did a good job at it. So stop skewing the fact that some people went to jail. Now, here's a curious thing. Did they randomly pick those people like they pick lottery tickets? Or did they go through the judicial system and were arrested, indicted, and then taken to trial, or they took a plea? Because that's how it really works in the real world. They're not just grabbing people off the streets and saying, okay, now there was a time, and we talk about that from an equality and justice standpoint. But but I guess common sense ain't common. So what I need, everybody that's watching this, I need y'all to go and share this article, and you can tell them I said it. Read it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. And let me just get to some of the comments that's coming in. I think we've got to spend some time on this. This is important. I think sometimes we can be so critical that we miss what's really at stake.
Right.
We really miss the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, if we don't be very careful, we'll be so critical and so narrow-minded that we'll get 4 more years of what we don't want. So let me just get to some of the comments here.
Yeah, well, they can erupt all they want to. Yeah, they can erupt all they want to. What I'm telling you is, as a member of the Black delegation, is this. If you don't want to vote for her, vote for Joe Biden. Because what she does with her personal life is her personal business. Big Wink.
Yeah, it coming out the dust.
Oh, Samuel Winky Jenkins is in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
Look.
He's quick.
We got Miss Cheryl in the house.
Yeah. But here's the thing, ladies. So this is what's at stake. And I'm progressive as progressive can be. So I'm gonna say this. Say you just can't bring yourself to vote for her. Are you still gonna stay at home? Just vote for Joe Biden. Or if you're in Mississippi, you have the opportunity to elect Mike Espy. You also have a chance to vote on the legalization of marijuana. You got a chance to vote on a whole host of issues. Get in there and vote.
So let me put it this way. Let's try to spin this, because it's really important, a different way. So if you don't, so here's the real question. Is your dislike or disdain greater for Kamala Harris or the current president? Because if you don't vote for one, you're voting for the other. So I'm just that's the question.
And Liz,
it's not even really about Kamala Harris. It's really about the choices we have in November. We got 2 choices.
And here's the thing, Liz. Now, last week I told you this whole Kanye distraction was going to become more than a distraction. Now you have Republican operatives that are trying to help him get on the ballot to purposely split the vote. So you tell them you're going to vote for Kanye over Joe Biden? Come on, man.
We've got to be smart. We've got to be calculated. And we got to think bigger. We can't be so myopic in our viewpoint that we miss what's really at stake. And sometimes, have you ever been in an argument with somebody over one particular point so much so that you don't even remember what you were arguing about in the first place?
Yeah.
You just missed the whole thing?
Yeah.
That's some of the discussion I'm seeing on social media, some of the feedback. That's what it's seeing. And it's so painful to watch, because I'm like, you totally missed it. You totally missed it,
Yeah. They missing all the other good that she can do. If you listen to the way she prosecutes the case, she is absolutely fearless in how she prepares and goes out to cross-examine witnesses. So what do you think that's going to provide for Joe Biden? It provides him cover to actually talk about policies that are relevant during this critical time of trying to flatten the curve on Corona. Because she can prosecute the case against Mike Pence and Donald Trump in her sleep.
So here's the question. Let's get to Iris's one, the good one. I want to jump into this one. Devil's advocate, Uncle Joe's age. Let me be clear. Good point. Nobody explained this better than Joe Biden himself. In the debate, when he laid out his criteria for selecting a vice president, here's what he said, and he addressed it. He said, number one, I am aware that I'm 77 years old, and I have to make a decision based on if something should happen to me, who can carry out the vision, strategic vision that I have. He said, it's okay for the vice president and the president to disagree on tactics, but we cannot disagree on strategy. And so he understands. So he understands, and that's why he made the decision, because he needed somebody that would fight, that could navigate around it, and that would be ready day one. And here's the fact: you get somebody that don't have any experience, never been in that area, in that arena, how they're going to be ready to do it on day one? Just go back and look. And if you want to critique, you want to really see how good she is at what she does, go back and look at the hearings with the Attorney General. What's it, Barr? Is it Bill Barr? Mm-hmm. Go back and look at how she grilled the last judge that Trump appointed for
Neil Gorsuch.
Yeah. So you can see her work. She's been doing it, and she's very good at what she does. So
How about this? You said something very key. Ready to lead on day one. Has the experience to lead on day one. Go back and look at today's coronavirus numbers. People are dying. And we're talking about ready to lead on day one. Mr. Trump, in all due respect, sir, you are not ready to lead. You 3.5 years in place. You didn't listen to the science. You didn't listen to the transition team when they told you the biggest threat was biology. And here we are. And you still have Dr. Anthony Fauci. You got a whole team, Deborah Burke, all of them telling you, hey, look, this is what we need to do. You're not ready. So step out of the way. He's not going to step out of the way, so let's vote him out. Stop it with all this, well, she don't have this, she don't have this. She got more experience than just about anybody who was up for consideration. And she did it in a big state, and she made meaningful change. People are still incorporating the things that she did 16 years later. So I miss me with all that, because we got Exhibit A in the White House at 1600 Black Lives Matter Drive right now. Not ready. You have to be ready, and trial by fire is not the time to try to get ready. She already been through the trials. She is ready. Look at that as Exhibit A, and look at her resume, and look at what she's doing in the United States Senate as one of the 100.
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, we have to, I don't know how to say it. I mean, I'm just really kind of disheartened by some of this that's going on. And thank you, Ms. Cheryl. It was Kavanaugh. Yeah. Kavanaugh. Yeah, she made him cry right there on the stand. This is a judge.
Yeah, Kavanaugh. I said Gorsuch. They're not Gorsuch. Yeah. Kavanaugh. My bad.
So you got to have it. I'm looking forward to the debate. I hope they have one, because they're trying to get out of it, because I want to see what she does when she goes up against Pence.
Bro, if I was Mike Pence, I'd be on my bicycle headed.
He did not want this. You don't want what's coming to him.
You don't want that smoke.
And look, I'm going to get in trouble for this one, but I'm going to say it. As a black man that's married to a black woman, you don't want that heat. You don't want that heat. I'm telling you right now. I fought many battles. I haven't won one yet.
You're speaking from experience.
That's just the reality. That's just the reality. So I'm just putting that out there. So hey, he don't want that heat that's coming his way.
Yeah, but they're already trying to paint her as an angry black woman. Here's what I would say to that. I agree. How about that? I agree. It's a whole different level of heat. But she has studied and shown herself approved to be able to bring that heat.
And she can bring in so many different ways. So the thing is, here's the reality. We talk about lead from day one, and you brought up an interesting point. We are in 3.5 years later. How many days is that? That's 360, 360, 180. I did the math on it.
Make sure you put a leap year in there.
What's that? 900 days, and our current president is still not ready to leave. So it's an easy choice for me from that standpoint, because, and I'm not basing that on any emotional policy. It's not even Republican versus Democrat. I'm basing that on the facts of what has happened with Corona.
Yes, and that's why I said it. Look at if you want to take an exhibit to make a comparison on, look at today's mortality numbers. People died today because of coronavirus when they didn't have to. This administration has been inept and stubborn in how they approach the science. So therefore, they basically saying, well, you know, we'll let it get to this herd mentality. Back to that. I mean, do you know how many people in the United States would have to catch coronavirus, and how many millions of people would die before we, normalize under a herd mentality theory? That is not leadership. I guess, I'm going hard. It's not because I'm going hard for her, but I just don't, personal thoughts aside, I'm looking at backgrounds. Joe, in order to get considered for that position, you're gonna have to be top notch. And he considered some top notch people. Any one of them. And here's my okay. So we want to talk personal opinions. Here's my personal opinion. No, ma'am.
How you doing?
All right. Joe Biden has the unique perspective of having worked for 8 years under the Obama administration. All right. So he knows a thing or two about what to look for in a vice president because he served that role. And his team did a marvelous job of picking. But for levity's sake, and Greg, we're going to get to that vaccine thing in a minute. Because I understand there's been a lot of propaganda around vaccines. But let me finish this thought. Because I think it's very important, and you will understand it, Liz, because we grew up together. As long as Joe Biden didn't pick Otis from Andy Griffith, who went and locked himself in a cell on every weekend, it's going to be all right. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, look, because Otis, we've really been in trouble. No, I think we let me go to some of the comments I want to, and let me put this in perspective to you guys. As of today, 167,000 U.S. citizens have died from the coronavirus. 5.27 million confirmed cases of coronavirus in the U.S. That's the facts. The Vietnam War.
Come on, Liz. Come on with it.
Vietnam War had a totality of 282,000 in U.S. Soldiers and military deaths. The Vietnam War went from 1955 to 1975. That period of transition over 20 years. We are not even in a year.
Right.
And we have 167,000 deaths from the coronavirus. So I'm just showing you the element of the numbers of how significant this is.
And so look, I guess the Clarion Ledger is watching the show today because they just dropped me some numbers to my notifications. I'm just kidding. I like reading and Mississippi Today. But they say as of today now, 38 counties in Mississippi report nearly 200 cases and 750 quarantine. Now, guess that's the school numbers. How long school been open? Maybe 2 weeks out?
No. I think the longest school's been open for 3 weeks
at the most. So again, coronavirus in Mississippi schools. 38 counties report nearly 200 cases and 750 quarantine. And We talked about the death last week of one of the coaches up there at Lafayette County.
Yeah. Our classmate Greg is cracking me up though, but he's still a classic like old CHS time.
That's right, Greg. Now, Greg, let me just rap to you for a second about these vaccines, brother. Because I understand the fear and trepidation around taking a needle to your arm with an unknown substance is real. But do we want to do that, or do we want to continue to be locked inside wearing these hot masks? Can't talk to nobody, can't go nowhere. Well, let me take that back, because some people just going. They doing their own, they freelance. So those of us who want to see the curve flatten, we got to consider this thing. I heard Rahm Emanuel's brother, who is a highly respected medical. Iris, nobody's taking that vaccine from me. No. But anyway, no. Quit playing, Leslie. Look, I get what Iris is saying about that vaccine from Russia, man. But no, I'm with Greg now. We have to watch what the science is saying around it. And one thing that I know from just reading up on vaccines is anytime you start talking about fast tracking, you got to watch how these trials go, because it's easy to miss a step, especially with something as aggressive as corona that's going through mutations and changing symptoms and how it presents itself in one community as opposed to another. So we got to be very particular in watching how these trials go. So here's one of my predictions. Now, I've been pretty good about this. Now, vaccine will be here right before we vote. So be very particular about that one too, because that may be just propaganda purposes.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, this is I appreciate the conversation. The comments, keep them coming, because we're all concerned about that. This is relevant. This is what we're dealing with today. Here's the thing. I can't. I'm with you on that one. I don't trust no vaccine coming from Russia. Don't trust it. And here's the thing. I watched the interview with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Yeah.
And one of the chief health in the health. I think he was a high-ranking official in the health ministry at Russia, and he kept saying, "But what about the trials? What period are you in? Phase 2, phase 3?" He's like, "Well, we fast-tracked through that, and we've already we modified phase 3." Like, whoa. Did you hear all the medical professionals? All the medical professionals were like, wait a minute. That's the most important phase of the trial.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that fast tracking. And so what you were left with, I haven't seen a doctor in the US that has been jumping on bandwagon with that. They want to see more, because even if we get it, we got to test that thing and send it through the testing to make sure that it's safe.
That's right, because anytime you introduce something into your body, it's going to have side effects. Why do you think these commercials that come on? That's one reason why I stream, is because I get tired of those commercials where they introduce a medicine and then the commercial is really only like 5 seconds, Leslie. They show you what it is, and then the rest of the 30 seconds is somebody talking real fast with all the symptoms and side effects.
Yeah, well, you know what, man, it's hot in the chat room, so I'm going to bring up. This is a first. This is a first. So we have a family member who has signed up for a trial. Tell us more. I'm going to put that there. At least so she has signed up for a trial which is important. And we talked about that. It's important that we get
we need
all races, all people to sign up and go through these trials, so we can know how it affects everybody, so that we can get a safe vaccine for everyone.
That's right.
It is important. And so if we don't sign up and we're not testing for the trials, then how do we, we don't have any opportunity for success. So that's a bold move, and certainly salute you for that, at least.
All right, Liz. Here's the last thing that's on my list. I feel like I've been a little bit too hot today, but here's the last thing. They are now issuing warnings that at least 46 states could be disenfranchised by the changes to the way political mail is being treated under the Trump administration. And this is specifically related to the upcoming presidential election. And, you know, it saddens me because, you know, in the good old days in politics, people may be thinking something, but they don't just outright tell you. You know, yesterday he went on national TV and said, well, if we don't give them the money, then they won't be able to get the votes in. And basically, they can't get the votes in. That means I'm going to win. Here's what I would tell you, what I've been telling you all along. You got to get your plan in place. If you need to vote by mail, then you need to get on that right now to figure out what the rules and regulations say your options are so that you can be prepared in August, so that you can get it off in a timely fashion, because what they're talking about when they say changes to how they handle political mail is political mail was treated as first-class mail and given priority so that it could get from point A to point B and be counted in a timely fashion. But we have a new Postmaster General who is an appointee, and he's taking it upon himself to change that rule. Small change. Remember I told you he had the ability to make small changes?
You did.
It turns out that small change has a huge effect on how votes will be counted if they're mail-in. The ironic thing about this is Arizona, California, Washington State, I can think it's probably more than that, but off the top of my head, they've all been using vote by mail for years just for convenience sake. So why now is it a problem? Sounds like the last gasp of a loser.
Yeah, well, I think we know what's at play, and I think more than anything, I think for our listeners, this is not a time to be apathetic.
No,
this is not a time to be overly conservative, meaning not taking any action, meaning you're so much in analysis phase that you're paralyzed by the analysis. I think it's a time to take calculated, swift action to be a part of the political process. And so we can't stand on the sideline anymore. None of us can. I mean, for everybody, for humanity in general, we can't. And for our kids that can't vote, we better. And so that's where we are. I mean, I am, when we get to the point that as leaders, as business people, that we can unconsciously make a decision and make it easily that kids and safety are political, so much so that we can send kids back to school. Are we going to hold back federal funds if they don't? When we start making those kind of decisions, then it's time for all of us to rise up. Because the day that we put safety on the back of the bookshelf and put money on the front of the bookshelf, we're all in trouble. So we got to all rise up, and I truly believe that this is a challenge to humanity right here. And either we're gonna rise up, and I got a news flash for you: the world is watching us. The world is watching us now more than ever to see how we react.
no doubt.
This is anticipated to be the most watched election ever outside of the United States. So we'll see.
And then, Leslie, here's the other thing, and I'm glad, we always talk strong with each other. I'm glad you said, playing political football with these children and educators. But think about what else they playing with. So this is how you know that there is time for that uprising that you're calling for. I'm talking about the political factor of changes to first class versus less priority on political mail, right? But guess what's getting lost in that shuffle? The post office is written into the Constitution, if I'm not mistaken, right? I'll come back. I'm pretty sure somebody on here knows. But if I recall, that's written into the Constitution. And you used to have the Pony Express, because they rode horses to get the mail around. If it was that important back then, think about right now when you have telemedicine. And one of the things that people were griping about so much was the Veterans Administration. You want to know one of the things that the Veterans Administration gets right is how they deliver their medication to their service members, people who put their lives on the line for this country, so that we can have these arguments about whether or not Kamala Harris is qualified to be vice president. They get their medication through the United States Postal Service. So when you start messing with the mail, you messing with people's actual lives again. You know? So I want people to be mindful of that. The Postal Service is a conduit, family to family, especially in a pandemic time. You got to send letters. You actually got to sit down and put stuff in the mail. Now you have other alternatives, but they are not the governmental agency. So be mindful that politics is being played about some votes, but people may not be getting their medication in a timely fashion. They may not be getting other critical pieces of mail that they need, and all of that's being lost in the shuffle. So I agree with you. Everybody's watching how we process this moment. And I think with Benjamin Franklin that said, you have a republic if you can keep it. This is that moment where we have to decide, can we keep this thing on the track? Anybody ever seen one of those movies where the train jump off the track and it just tears up everything? We don't want that to be America. So let's do what we can do together. Once upon a time, somebody had a slogan that said, "Make America great again." All I'm asking you is keep America whole right now. Take care of these children and babies, educators, and families. Make sure they get their medication and stop monkeying around with people's right to vote. And yes, Pam, the Secretary of State in Ohio is removing drop boxes. He doesn't want drop boxes there because this is all the larger play. I tell you all the time, watch out for the distractions, watch out for the noise, and watch for the larger play. The larger play is to drive down a vote by 1 or 2% so that they can get it back into a ball game again. So that's what you're looking at. That's all I got, Liz. Now, if you want
to listen, I'm gonna hit a couple of these comments and then we're gonna wrap it up for today. But guys, let me just kind of hit that. Also, can mail-in ballots be dropped off at the county clerk?
These are all questions that need to be asked right now to your board of elections commissioners.
Greg, you still Greg?
Yeah, Greg, I understand. Yeah, well, we know they're doing this. They're doing the things that they have under their control to do. Because I told you. Well, there you go. Thank you, Iris. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7 of the United States Constitution, known as the Postal Clause or Postal Powers, empowers Congress to establish post offices and post roads.
Look, guys, every one of us have a power of influence. We have people that listen to us, that respect us, that take action from us regarding certain things. This is not a time to be silent, right? So you got to speak. They can't hear you if you're not speaking. They can't respond to you if you're not speaking. They can't get inspired by you if you're taking no action. They can't follow if you're not leading.
That's it. In a nutshell, we got work to do, man.
We got a lot of work to do. So, with that being said, thank you for joining the show another Friday. And be safe. Be safe. I know we got, for all our teachers that are already back at school, that are heading to school, or that don't know what they're doing quite yet. We have you in our prayers. Do the best you can to stay safe. I'm your biggest fan right now, because I think my biggest hope, what I think, is that there will be changes coming soon as we start, which is what I've always said, when we start putting 59 million school-age children back in school with all the teachers and correspondents, and we expect nothing to happen. We can't even get through the first 2 to 3 weeks of school without having schools shut down again.
That's
so you
right.
might be home sooner than you think.
Yeah.
All right. Charles, anything else?
Well, I would just say, thank you all for tuning in. We're still open. We're working. We're grinding, So if you have a legal need, give us a call, 601-340-6800. Leslie, have a good weekend, sir.
I will. And guess what I'm going to do, man? I am going to be chilling, staying close to the house.
And check your voicemail. Check your voicemail. Your boy left you a message on your voicemail. He said, "I want to leave Uncle Nah a voice message."
I got it, man. I got it, and he gave me a good day, a good jump to my day. So I appreciate that. You take care of my little buddy. I can't see him. That's the downside of the pandemic. But one day. All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next Friday. Until then, be safe, take action, be heard, be seen.
Leslie and I have known each other since early childhood. We grew up on the same country road in Mississippi.
I think why we're good for the community of Mississippi is because we're a product of this community. We are just two country guys, and we were embedded with what I call the diamonds of good character.
Come, join the family, and